Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really interesting stuff to talk about today. You guys sent in some material about preparing for marriage and, well, from a Christian perspective.
Yeah, it's pretty thought-provoking.
Definitely. I'm excited to dive into it with you.
Me too.
So this material, it really frames marriage prep as way more than just, planning the wedding. It's like, get ready.
Yeah, it is. It's about getting, spiritually and mentally ready for a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, huge. It's like, whoa, hold on. There's more to this than flowers and where everyone's going to sit.
Exactly. Like, what do you really need?
It's like packing for a trip. A really, really important trip.
Yes, they use that analogy, like being outfitted by God for marriage.
I love that.
Yeah, it makes you think, okay, what kind of gear do I need?
What kind of gear do I need for this adventure?
Right.
And it goes beyond just a checklist.
Right. It dives into the deep stuff.
Spiritual and emotional prep.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't climb Mount Everest in flip-flops.
Oh, for sure not.
This podcast, it uses the story of Ruth, preparing to meet Boaz.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't just, get a makeover and call it a day.
Oh, no. It highlights how her preparation, it was deeper.
Way deeper.
Humility, faith, obedience. It was like her actions were a testament,
Yeah.
like her heart was ready.
So it's about cultivating those inner qualities.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about looking the part, but
Being the right person.
yeah, from the inside out.
Yes. And the podcast, it uses this example to emphasize how important that is for a successful marriage.
Makes sense. They also bring up Proverbs 18.22.
Oh, yeah.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing
Yeah.
and obtains favor from the Lord.
A blessing.
Right. But there's this implication.
You got to be ready
Yes, you have
Yeah.
to be ready to receive that blessing.
to receive it. Yeah. And it ties into that, becoming the right person, too.
Huh.
Proverbs 19.1 horn says, a wife of noble character is her husband's crown. But a disgraceful wife is like, it's like decaying his bones. So it's about the kind of person you are and the impact that has on the marriage.
So it's not just about finding the right person, but
Becoming the right person.
yeah, bringing something valuable to the table, someone who can really build up their partner.
Exactly. And that wisdom, it's not just book smarts. It's about having that understanding, discernment.
That comes from God.
Yes, aligning your heart
Yes.
with God.
It's like seeking that spiritual connection and shared values right from the start.
Yes. Not hoping they'll magically appear later.
Exactly. Okay. This podcast, it uses another powerful image, the parable of the wise and foolish virgins.
Oh, yeah, from Matthew.
Matthew 25.
Yeah.
Remember? The wise ones brought extra oil for their lamps.
And the foolish ones, left in the dark.
Scrambling. So this oil, it's like a metaphor.
For spiritual preparedness, yeah.
What resonates with you about that?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It highlights that, marriage needs more than just romantic love.
Which can come and go.
Yeah, you need that extra fuel
To keep things burning, right?
through all the storms that come up in life.
Because it's not a fairy tale.
Definitely not.
It takes work.
And that oil, that spiritual preparedness, yeah, it can help couples, face those tough times.
So what are some examples of that oil that couples can, cultivate?
Well, having a strong prayer life, it's crucial.
Definitely.
The podcast, it encourages this specific prayer. Lord, give me wisdom and understanding as I prepare for the future you have planned.
Inviting God into the process.
Yes, and seeking his guidance.
It's like a lifeline. Prayer
to stay connected, yeah.
To stay connected with God and aligned with his will.
Especially as you prepare for something as big as marriage.
Huge. So it's like aligning your desires with God's plan.
Right, and that can bring a deep sense of peace and purpose.
I like that. It's interesting how they then kind of shift gears.
Yeah.
And talk about preparing for marriage as
Yeah.
equipping for battle.
They connected to Ephesians 6.
Putting on the armor of God.
They're not sugarcoating it.
No.
Marriage is beautiful, fulfilling, but it has its battles.
What kind of battles should couples be prepared for?
Well, sometimes it's internal,
Yeah.
like wrestling with your own insecurities.
Past hurts.
Yeah. And there will be external battles too.
Like what?
Maybe disagreements about finances or parenting or in-laws. But having that armor, that foundation of faith, it can help couples face those things,
Together.
together.
So it's not about being naive or avoiding conflict,
No, it's about being prepared
being ready to face those challenges.
with resilience and grace.
It's about being equipped to handle the tough stuff.
Yes, and leaning on your faith
And each other.
when things get rough.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the podcast, it gives practical steps for this faith-filled marriage preparation.
They emphasize prayerfully seek God's guidance.
Don't just go through the motions.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
The next one, read and reflect on God's word. They specifically mention Proverbs 31,
Oh, yeah.
which describes a virtuous woman, and 1 Corinthians 13, which it paints a picture of love.
Beautiful.
It's about immersing yourself in scriptures that shape your understanding,
Yeah.
especially from a God-centered perspective.
Grounding your expectations.
Yes. And then they encourage you to cultivate wisdom and patience.
Ooh, those are two things I think we all need a little more of.
I agree, especially nowadays. And they're not things that just happen overnight.
It takes work.
Intentional effort, practice.
So it's like this continual process of personal growth, right? Alongside seeking a partner.
Exactly. You're not just sitting around
Or actively working, yeah.
becoming the best version of yourself.
And the podcast reminds us that we don't have to do this alone.
No. They stress, surround yourself with godly counsel.
Makes sense. Having mentors or friends who,
Who embody a strong, faith-filled marriage, yeah?
it's like a team of cheerleaders,
Yes. Praying for you
providing guidance,
Yeah.
seeking out those relationships that really, build you up.
and challenge you to grow.
And finally, they emphasize remaining steadfast in faith.
Trusting God's timing.
That can be tough. But I think there's peace in surrendering our desires.
To God's will, yes.
Absolutely. This deep dive, it's really shed light on the depth of preparing for marriage.
From that spiritual perspective,
Yes, it goes way deeper than the dress and the venue.
it's about preparing your heart, your mind, your spirit.
For this sacred commitment.
Yes, cultivating those qualities that make you a good partner.
Laying a foundation.
Of faith, love, and commitment.
Ah.
That can sustain your relationship through anything.
And remembering that marriage, it's more than just a human thing.
Right, it's sacred covenant.
Reflecting God's love and grace to the world.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's like you're not alone on this journey. You know, you're partnering with God as you prepare for this commitment.
It's a beautiful thought. It's a journey, and you've got someone walking beside you. And it really emphasizes, preparing for marriage. It's like,
Yeah.
it's about personal growth
Spiritual development, yeah.
as much as finding the right person.
It is. It's both.
It's like they're saying, hey, work on yourself. Cultivate your relationship with God.
And then see what happens.
Become the best version of yourself first.
So you can enter that marriage
Yeah.
with a strong foundation.
They're bringing your best self to the table. And ultimately, that benefits both of you. One thing that really struck me was how they use the word ministry when talking about marriage.
Yeah, that's powerful.
What do you think about that?
It changes your perspective. It suggests that marriage isn't just, about your own happiness.
Right.
It's about serving God and others together
As a couple, it's like seeing your relationship as this platform.
to make a difference.
Yeah, to reflect God's love.
Out into the world, yeah.
What does that look like for you?
It makes me think about how our gifts, talents,
Mm.
can be used to serve others within a marriage. What about you?
For me, it's like finding ways to live out my faith alongside my partner, supporting each other's growth.
Being that encouragement.
Yeah, to those around us.
It could be simple things like being hospitable or volunteering,
It's about aligning your values and goals.
as a couple. And finding those shared areas.
Where you can make a difference.
And they remind us humility and forgiveness
Right.
are so essential.
Especially for navigating all the bumps, right?
No, for sure. Because we're human.
We're going to mess up.
Yeah, and those moments, they need humility.
To own up to it.
Yeah, and to seek forgiveness.
Forgiveness is like,
A balm.
it
It frees us from that bitterness and resentment that they can really hurt a relationship.
and it's in those tough moments.
When faith can be so powerful.
It reminds us of grace.
And it empowers us to offer that same grace to our partner.
It's about choosing to love, even when it's really hard.
Absolutely. The podcast also touched on patience. In marriage,
Patience is a muscle,
we got to exercise it.
Yeah.
Especially in marriage. It's about being willing to wait.
To listen.
Yeah, to offer grace. When they're struggling,
Yeah.
recognizing that growth takes time.
We want everything now,
Instant gratification.
Patience is tough, but it's so important for those moments when your partner's going through something or when you're facing those challenges as a couple,
It's embracing the journey together.
even when it's hard,
Knowing that God is working in both of you.
through the trials.
Exactly.
That part about surrounding yourself with godly counsel, it really resonated with
Me
me.
too. Having that support system
People who embody the marriage you want.
Offering wisdom based on their experience.
It's like they're your cheerleaders.
Praying for you.
It's about seeking out those relationships that build you up.
Challenge you.
And that last point, remaining steadfast in faith.
Trusting God's plan.
Yeah, even when things feel uncertain.
Or when you're waiting. Surrendering your desire.
To His will.
And having faith. He'll work everything out.
This has been such a great reminder that preparing for marriage, it's a journey.
It's not just the destination, it's the journey.
It's ongoing, the work.
Faith, growth, building that strong foundation.
For our lifetime.
Together.
And as we wrap up this part, I want to leave you with this thought. How do you see your faith shaping your approach to marriage? What kind of legacy do you hope to build with your future spouse?
Those are good questions.
Yeah, it's inspiring to think about marriage that way, as this force for good. And I like that, they give these practical steps for preparing for marriage.
Yeah, it's not just ideas.
No, it's like, okay, here's what you can actually do.
Actionable.
Yeah.
It starts with that foundation,
Prayer.
Prayerfully seeking God's guidance. It's not just about, give me a spouse, please. It's bigger.
It's about the process.
Yeah, inviting Him in. Seeking wisdom.
Every step of the way.
Exactly.
Like, God, I'm open. Show me. Prepare my heart.
Yeah, that's good. And I love that they actually give those examples of Scripture, like Proverbs 31.
Corinthians 13.
Yeah, they offer so much insight.
The qualities of a godly wife.
True love.
It's about immersing yourself, and letting it shape your understanding.
Marriage and relationships, yeah.
It's about grounding your expectations in something bigger.
Than just fleeting feelings or whatever's trendy.
And they talk about the need to cultivate wisdom and patience. Two things that are hard these days.
Definitely. We live in a world of instant everything.
Yeah.
But wisdom and patience, it's like they take time.
They're muscles.
Yeah. Got to work those muscles. It's about pausing, seeking understanding.
Not just react, but
responding thoughtfully.
Yeah. I think about those times when you're feeling frustrated, impatient.
Like your partner.
Instead of just getting swept up in it.
Take a step back.
Pray for wisdom.
Seek to understand them.
And then that's where, having that support system comes in.
Godly counsel.
It's about building those relationships.
With people who can speak truth into your life.
Who embodies the kind of marriage you want.
They can offer wisdom.
Encouragement.
Because they've lived it.
It's like your mentors.
Your friends.
Couples you admire.
That can offer advice, pray for you.
And that last point, remaining steadfast in faith. It ties it all together.
Trusting God's timing, even when it's hard.
Believing that He has a plan.
Even when things feel uncertain. Or you're waiting.
Surrendering your desires.
To His will. It's powerful.
This has been such a great reminder that preparing for marriage, it's a journey, not a destination.
It is. It's ongoing.
There's work of faith, growth, building a strong foundation.
For a lifetime together.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. How do you see your faith shaping your approach to marriage? What kind of legacy do you hope to build with your future spouse? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Great questions to think about. It's been a pleasure.